On this AVNation special, we take a look at Twitter, the social media platform, and ask the question, is it worth paying a subscription? All that and more. Next on this AVNation special.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is an AVNation special. The value of Twitter. This is an AVNation special. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. This is about Twitter. And it started on a Twitter conversation, which I know shocks you. Let's go around the horn here and I'll explain what we're doing. First and foremost, my buddy and pal Kim Lancaster from Castor Communications. Welcome, ma'am.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing well. Mr. Craig McCormick from Commercial Integrator. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Chris Netto, the guy that I learned social media from, which explains how bad I am at it. Mr. Chris Netto, how are you, sir?
I'm super. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. My social media person is Kelly Perkins.
Well, yeah, sort of a little
welcome,
bit.
ma'am. Yeah, you could, but that would be weird. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I am well. My fabulous marketing company is Lindsay Martin Bilberry from Nifty, and she is here as well. Welcome, ma'am.
Hello, hello.
And if you're watching the video and not listening to this, you won't see Dennis Berger, but we're going to grab him in. So welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me back. I'm surprised.
Well,
let's face it, last time I was a little bit of a doom harbinger. So I thought I would never
and I
be
think you're going to be this time too, but that's okay.
Yeah,
that's kind of why we have you on. So this, like I said, it started as a Twitter conversation on Twitter. Real quickly, the link we'll put up is from CNN, but you could just Google Jack Dorsey is going to start charging for Twitter. He told analysts last week, you will likely see some tests this year of various approaches of a subscription model for Twitter. Now, a couple of distinctions here. They kind of already have one. Not for the users like we're talking about here to pay to access it and post it, but on the back end, you can pay for the API access to develop apps, to develop different strategies. So that is a revenue model for them. What he was talking about was not that. It was for paying to get access to Twitter and to post. Kim actually asked Mr. McCormick whether or not that would make sense, whether if it's that to the point where Twitter is so important. So I gathered all of the smart people that I know that help other people do social and do social themselves. So Kim, first question goes to you. And I think it's the only question, and we'll have kind of walk around this, but is Twitter worth paying for? And if so, what is that level there?
So my perspective is I would pay for Twitter. I would recommend a client pay for Twitter. And my reasoning for me, both personally and professionally, is there's two things I do when I get up in the morning. I brush my teeth and I check Twitter, and then I have coffee. And it's, I get my summary of my news of the day, whether it's across industry, whether it's across state, what's happening locally, regionally to me. Right now I can clearly get my COVID news. I can get politics. And I don't have to read everything, right? There's a point in the morning where I just kind of want the headlines, the perspectives, the opinions. People are just dropping stuff quickly, and I'm going through it. I use it as a valuable tool for information. And I will also say, because of the way I curate the people I follow, the lists I use, I'm using sources of value to me, right? So I'm not, I'm in fake news or I'm, down a hole I don't want to go. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get there too. But from the start of it, there's subscriptions I pay for. I would say it's no different than saying I have a New York Times subscription, or I have a subscription to New England Home magazine. There's some places where I'm going to pay to get information. And yeah, I mean, I have almost all the social platforms. I have text, I have chat, but I can't get it all there. And so for me, that would be the argument for Twitter, whether that's me personally, me as a company, or as a client. So it's it's a very valuable tool right now.
Craig, that's a really good perspective. I didn't even think about the whole, I have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. Is Kim right on this, whether it's looking at it from a PR perspective or just, your own personal consumption?
I think Kim is absolutely right on everything she said. She hit on a lot of points I was going to touch on as well. So it's the first place I go in the morning too, and I kind of seeing what I missed overnight. I hate to miss things, and I don't understand how people have their Twitter timeline sorted by the top tweets rather than the most recent tweets. I sort it that way to make sure that I don't miss something, when I'm sleeping or whatever. And certainly, getting a roundup of news from all different places, and not always, very important news. It can be, entertainment sort of stuff, or just wacky sort of weird sort of things that that's kind of the way I have my feed set up. It's not just all breaking news information. It's it's entertainment as well. So it's definitely a good place for for sharing news, sharing information, and also finding it as well. I post just about every story I write for Commercial Integrator on Twitter, and I think that's the best way to get it out as well. And it's also a great way to interact with people in the industry. It's the way I've met a lot of people, kind of had first meetings with people, and obviously meet them in person later, but it kind of meeting new people and finding out what they think is interesting, I also think is a valuable piece of Twitter as well.
I want to point out here, I know this because I've known Craig for, good Lord, 9 years now. You were not a what I would call an early adopter to Twitter. You kind of got pulled kicking and screaming because of joining Commercial Integrator and writing for them.
Yep. Yeah. When I started at Commercial Integrator, my editor at the time, Tom LeBlanc, he came to me and said, I want you to start a Twitter account and, kind of start sharing your stories and things like that. I didn't know what Twitter was, honestly. I had no idea what it was at the time. I've certainly come to learn what it was, and certainly value everything about it. I think it's great. I tweeted or retweeted more than 300,000 times. So I think I kind of have that
concerning.
kind of have the hang of it at this point.
Yes, I don't think I'm anywhere near that, and I don't know that I want to be. So somebody who makes me there is Kelly Perkins, and as I mentioned, she's our social media person here at AVNation, but she also does it for other people, and she was one of the first people I met, like Craig, online. Kelly, is this something that makes sense for folks going forward, whether it's in the AV industry or someplace else?
Well, I think in the capacity that it is right now, like Kim and Craig said, you get a lot of value out of it. My question would be, well, I have a lot of questions regarding it, but are they going to charge based on individuals? Are they going to charge differently based on companies? And if that's the case, I could see a lot of the companies that I work with going, I'm not going to do it. That's just another thing to pay for. And I have a lot of individuals, since we started talking since you emailed me about this podcast, I've asked a lot of people just around as individuals, would you pay for it? And they're like, no. And it whether they should or shouldn't is neither here nor there, but does the value go down if nobody's using it, or if only a certain amount of people are using it? Because we do get a lot of our news from there, and I have a subscription now to the Dallas paper and still the Minneapolis paper and stuff, which I pay for monthly. But would I pay for Twitter to get news that I can get anywhere else? So it's just kind of, there's too many questions at this point to really say, would I do it or not do it? But, in its current capacity, I think it's extremely valuable. That's kind of where I stand. I would just be curious to see how they're going to do it and how they're going to charge. And if it's per company, if it's per organization, if it's per individual.
Yeah,
they haven't gone down that path, right? This is all just, for them, it was a hypothetical throwout because advertising dollars were down, and
they're testing the waters,
they're
right?
kind of testing the waters, see what the response would be. But I think anybody who is probably saying that they wouldn't pay for it would fall into the fear of missing out category really quickly, and that need to comment, that need to exchange. I would even say within the industry, right? Don't even take it outside of the industry for a moment. Like think about the people and the conversations that you have on that level that start on Twitter and maybe they end up somewhere else. I mean, we were talking earlier just quickly about CES cancellation yesterday. How many people saw it there first before they saw it elsewhere?
Yeah.
I think, I probably shared it within 55 seconds of getting the news. And, I had probably, I don't know, more than 1,000 views of it within an hour of it going out. So, and conversations happened on LinkedIn for sure. They didn't happen on Facebook. So not on my Facebook.
No.
Yeah, I can't count the number of story ideas that I've gotten from Twitter, just from, things that people have said or, links that people have shared. Just they turn into stories that, that I'll do follow-up interviews on based on, something that someone has posted on Twitter all the time.
Well,
But
I
I
think
wonder-
too, it's, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think, especially right now when we're all stuck at home, just to have a conversation with somebody, Twitter's such a good outlet for that. And, I check it constantly throughout the day, but I think it'll just be the people that are very active on it now, I think would pay for it. And the people that aren't active on it, it's the way it is
But it
now.
depends on how they curate it. Like this is what happens when when Facebook and Instagram started really monetizing it and taking away some of that organic reach. And Twitter slowly started doing that with the algorithm. And, from a professional perspective, my marketing clients, we always say Twitter's 50-50. Like it just depends on who you're selling to. The AV world, you all are incredibly connected on Twitter. Like that's a massive communication channel for you. We have other clients, healthcare in particular, finance, insurance. They don't go into Twitter because it's a scary world that you can't control very well. And it's not as powerful, nor is it as valuable. It is for person-to-person conversations to a certain extent, but there's so many other communication opportunities for them. Personally, I use it basically to mock Tim for his pictures that Chris Nito puts out there, to talk to one of my favorite editors from Smart Meetings, and to use hashtags for events. Like I can see paying for it for an event for the hashtag, because so many of the aggregation services for the social walls, for that digital interaction are baked in around it. But as 2020 has demonstrated, I think that the market would provide other opportunities if Twitter made it insurmountable. So I don't know. I feel like though there is value, them choking it from a revenue perspective is going to take away some of those great organic conversations that are going to limit it to just brands that want to invest in sponsored posts. And I could care less about that sometimes. And then
I would say that subscriptions potentially free up their option of less advertising, right? So because the advertising aspect, if there were enough subscriptions, it could potentially replace the advertising side. That said, I'm not a person who has ever recommended advertising on Twitter to any of my clients. That we use it for news share, right? So it's organic only, news share, conversations around the news share, and reaching out to influencers, editors, reporters, writers, freelancers. It's where they convene. And so as long as they were still there, that value would still be there. I mean, there's 4 people on this call right here who fall into editor, influencer, writer in our industry, all of whom would probably stay on Twitter. Maybe not. Dennis won't. He hasn't spoken up yet. So.
Well, we'll get Dennis because we need a contrarian here. I love Dennis. If you don't know Dennis Berger, you need to go Google him and read his stuff. But
Just
Dennis, seriously, on Twitter. Don't follow him on Twitter. Is it worth it to you? I mean, Kim makes a good point about this is where the influencers are. I'm going to rope Chris here in a second because I would categorize him there. Sometimes he won't, but I would. Is it worth it to you? Like professionally or personally?
Here's the interesting thing. This conversation so far has done something that Twitter can't, in my opinion, which is opened up my horizons, given me new perspectives, and made me think about things. I used to be the type of person who was like Kim. Every morning, the first thing I would do, I would look at Twitter. I would scroll. What are the top things? What are the headlines and everything? And I just realized that there was a cost to that. There's a level of toxicity that exists on Twitter out of proportion with the rest of social media. And since I realized that, and since I realized that this platform was affecting me in a negative way, I have scaled back so far. There are maybe 15 people now whose tweets I get as text messages on my phone, which, funny, the original intention of Twitter. And other than that, the only time I actually go to twitter.com, I've deleted the app off my phone. The only time I go to twitter.com, interestingly enough, is to look at the AV Tweeps hashtag. That's it. Other than that, the whole thing that roped me into this conversation is I got a text message. Oh, Kim tweeted. Oh, it's about Twitter. And I replied to it as a text message. And I am so much happier now that this garbage platform is out of my life, because there's no capacity for nuance. There is no capacity to actually have a conversation with anyone. And my response to this was, if Twitter is going to start charging subscriptions, good, because it will finally kill this dumpster fire. So that's kind of my take.
I so appreciate you, Dennis. I really
Garbage platform. I love it.
Thanks so much for watching this first segment of this AVNation special. Check out the rest of the episode for free. Click on the link below or go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv.